Hi everybody, my name is Zach. I'm a photographer and arts administrator based in Santa Barbara, California. And I decided it was time for me to try my first RF lens. So I rented the RF 50mm 1.2L to see what, if anything, I was missing out on. I wanted to know why these lenses are so huge, heavy, and expensive. Are they really that much of an upgrade over their older EF siblings? I wanted to test these lenses, so I went out on a shoot with two amazing models, Alina and Josie. My friend Max documented the shoot for me on my C70. Now, I'll start by saying that I, like all of us, come to this test with my own biases. Obviously, it would be more convenient for me to prefer the EF version since I own it and am more familiar with it, but I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. Also, this is a practical comparison rather than a technical one. I'm going to tell you what it's actually like to shoot with these on location. So let's get what I think is one of the most important differences out of the way: price. The premium RF lenses are eye-wateringly expensive, and that's one of the reasons I haven't used them until now. The EF 50 1.2 comes in at about $1,400 US brand new, but you can get it for less in the used market. The RF version is about $1,000 more expensive, coming in at $2,300 US. So the question I set out to answer is, considering the price, weight, and size of the new RF lens, is it really worth it over the tried and true EF version? The most obvious difference is, as expected, image quality, and specifically sharpness. The RF blows the EF away in terms of sharpness. Even at 1.2, the RF lens is one of the sharpest lenses I have ever used. It's really quite impressive just how sharp this lens is wide open. Now, it's worth noting that the EF version is not a soft lens. When I first used it on my 5D Mark IV, I thought it was soft wide open, and so I eventually stopped using it at 1.2. But after moving to the mirrorless cameras with their superior autofocus capabilities, I actually realized that the EF 50 is sharp wide open, and with the R cameras you can actually nail the focus at 1.2. It's true that 1.2 is not the sharpest point in the EF lens's range. It's definitely a lot softer than, say, f5.6, for example, but that is to be expected, or it was until I used the RF version. As far as autofocus goes, the RF is a bit faster than its older sibling and more accurate when shooting in backlit situations. But honestly, the R focusing system is so good that the EF lens doesn't really slow me down, at least for the way that I shoot. The RF has better contrast and much less color fringing and high contrast areas when compared with the EF version. So in terms of sharpness and contrast, the RF is the clear winner. I'm gonna slow the shutter so it'll be kind of like a little bit of blurry and cool. I don't know. So let's do it, come close to me this way and I'll shoot through the trees this way and just walk as you normally would. I'm gonna go down here. So let's talk about the bokeh. I'll start by saying that I've never had an issue with the EF lens's bokeh. It's stunning, and combined with the unique lens flare when shooting into direct sunlight, I can only describe the look of the EF as magical. But I would say that the RF is smoother or creamier than the EF, though both produce really unique, beautiful images and are really well suited for portraiture. So for those reasons, I would say that they're pretty equal in terms of bokeh. That's cool, that's cool. And maybe Alina, come over here and I'll just shoot over your shoulder maybe. I've often said that the EF 50 1.2 has a unique character. I expected that the RF version would sacrifice character for the improved image quality or that it would feel clinically sharp. but I'm glad to say that the RF lens has a unique, beautiful character all of its own. I already described the dreamy lens flare of the EF and the beautiful out of focus area it produces. I haven't found that the RF version produces as unique of a lens flare as the EF does, but its incredible sharpness wide open combined with the smooth fall off of the out of focus area creates an almost 3D effect that is quite impressive. I'm finding it difficult to decide which lens I prefer in terms of character, but I think this is a good problem to have. In terms of build quality, both lenses feel premium and are well built, and they're both weather sealed. The RF is basically double the size and weight of the EF, so that's a downer. Even with the control ring adapter, the RF dwarfs the EF. The RF also features a control ring, which I would find quite useful when set to control the aperture on the EOS R, a camera lacking the Canon rear control dial. However, on the R6 or R5, I probably wouldn't use the control ring since the camera body has 3 really useful dials that can be set to the various components of the exposure triangle. And if it's worth anything, the RF does look a bit more modern than the EF and isn't as awkwardly shaped on the front of the camera body as the EF is with the adapter. Also, despite the fact that the RF is quite big and heavy, I found that it balanced quite nicely on the R6. I would say that overall, they're pretty equal in terms of build quality.
Yeah, the photos you sent me.
How about if you come around here a little bit more? That's exactly the idea, but move back just a touch, I think. Yeah, that's cool. Almost like you're sort of like listening to it maybe. I just want to see a little bit more of your face profile. Yeah, that's it. That's more it. Yeah.
This moment. Sometimes I wonder.
So, which one is right for you? I won't lie to you, after using the RF lens, I definitely want one, and I think I will upgrade eventually. But using it has also made me realize that I definitely don't need one. It's actually made me appreciate my EF50 even more than I already do. Honestly, looking through these pictures, it's sometimes difficult to tell a difference unless you're zoomed into 100 or 200%, and even then, sometimes I still look at the metadata to be sure. With the R cameras, the minor drop in sharpness of the EF50 1.2 wide open is not something that has held me back. And it's not drastic enough for me to justify spending so much money on a new prime lens. I've also taken my editing style into consideration. You all know from watching the channel that I like to add a lot of grain to my images. My style is gritty and imperfect. I like to experiment with motion blur and other effects that compromise overall image quality in a way. So the fact that the EF lens is not tack sharp wide open doesn't really bother me. And remember, it's still sharp wide open, it's just not as sharp as the RF version.
Sometimes I wonder why I'm here, why I'm living, why do I feel this fear of singing in front of you all, telling these things after all, it's just words.
If you're a beauty portrait photographer who loves shooting wide open and you want the most perfect images you can get, the RF lens might be more worth it for you than it would be for me. For now, I'm content with my tried and true EF 50mm 1.2.
So do you know, not anyone seems to really know, but heaven knows, right? Heaven knows, no, not even heaven seems to know.
So let me know what you think. I'd love to answer any questions you have, and I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, consider subscribing and say hello down below. I would love to see you at the next video. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Love is